Order. The final item of business tonight is a members' business debate on motion number 4641 in the name of Shirley-Anne Somerville on celebrating the Scottish-Polish connection. This debate will be concluded without any question being put. I would ask members to wish to speak in the debate to press the request to speak buttons. And I call on Shirley-Anne Somerville to open the debate.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. The recent arrival of Poles in Scotland is not the beginning of the connection between our countries. Instead, it marks a new era in the long and interesting history of the relationship between Poland and Scotland. Given the closeness of Remembrance Day, which is also Polish Independence Day, I want to firstly focus on the wartime connection between our countries. No history of World War II in Scotland would be complete without tribute being paid to the thousands of Polish servicemen who arrived on Scottish soil, defended our shores and fought alongside our own troops. They made a vital contribution not only to the wartime effort, but to Scottish society in general. Many of them settled here, and their presence has had a long-lasting positive influence on communities throughout the land. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the first Polish forces arriving in Scotland. It happened just down the road in Leith, which is now home to so many of our modern-day Polish immigrants. In September 1939, 3 Polish destroyers sailed into the Forth and were escorted into Leith after escaping the outbreak of war on the Baltic Sea. These sailors were followed shortly afterwards by 2 Polish submarines, one of which had escaped internment and made a remarkable journey to Scotland without charts or navigational aids. All of these vessels returned to sea as soon as they could and were able, along with the Polish Navy, bravely served alongside the Royal Navy in the Atlantic, the Mediterranean and home waters. This was the start of a strong wartime connection between Scotland and Poland. Many Polish ships were based at Scottish ports, and several squadrons of the Polish Air Force served in different parts of the country. Many Polish air crews received their training here, and Polish squadrons of the RAF served with distinction in the Battle of Britain. The vast majority of the wartime Polish influx arrived after the collapse of France in 1940. Around 30,000 troops found a temporary home in Scotland, which for many became permanent. They first arrived in Glasgow to a warm welcome and a genuine feeling of hospitality and sympathy. The troops were moved to camps across the country, and lasting friendships, relations and indeed marriages were developed in towns and villages. On the east of the country, the Polish troops took over a defence of a large section of the coastline and were responsible for safeguarding our shores from Nazi attack. Now, Edinburgh has long been one of the main centres for Polish exiles to Scotland, and the first Scottish-Polish Society was founded here back in the 1830s. But during the war, a Polish house was organised by the British Council to help the Polish community socially and educationally, and soon there were homes, hostels, schools, libraries, and even a Polish medical faculty set up at the university to cater for the needs of Polish soldiers and their families. However, the long tradition of Scottish-Polish relations started way before the 20th century wars. While recent trends have seen Poles come here, from as far back as the 15th century, Scots had been trading and settling in Poland. Indeed, upwards of 40,000 Scots had emigrated to Poland by the 17th century, many of whom became very wealthy in their adopted home. 2 examples of that are the Mayor of Warsaw, Alexander Chalmers, who was re-elected 4 times, a man originally from Aberdeen. We have Robert Gordon, merchant in Gdansk, who then came back and set up the institution which has become Robert Gordon's University, again in Aberdeen. The motion we are debating today is not just about remembering those historic links, however, but celebrating our continued relationships with the Polish people. Their influence has never been more noticeable than since 2004, when EU entry saw a number of Polish workers once again making their way to Scotland and calling it their home. Many stay for just a short time, while others may stay for longer, but all contribute to our economy and our culture. There is now a thriving Polish community in Scotland, and our society is far richer for their presence. Edinburgh is home to one of the largest and most vibrant Polish communities in Scotland, and integration between the Scottish and Polish communities is deepening. The first ever Polish Cultural Festival took place in Leith this April, organised by a committed group of young Polish volunteers. It featured a wide range of events, from traditional folk music to Polish film and lectures from eminent historians. Just this month, a mural was painted in Leith by a Polish artist depicting our 2 nations. It was again inspired by new Polish residents to help increase understanding of the links between our countries. And last year saw a memorial unveiled in Redbraes Park as a tribute to the Scottish-based Polish soldiers who I mentioned earlier who fought in the war. This memorial was the idea of the community police officer Simon Daly. It was created to help unite the communities and was done in response to a racist attack which happened against a Polish man in this city. And it's a timely reminder that while most Scots are welcoming, there are still a minority who hold negative and ignorant views and attitudes towards those from other cultures and countries who make this country their home. That's why an appreciation of our shared history and past is so important. During the war, the Poles and Scots fought together against fascism. The recent media focus on the BNP serves to remind us all that the threat that fascism and racism still poses to modern-day democratic multicultural societies, the types of Scotland that we all want to see. And we must work together to increase the knowledge and celebrate the mix of cultures that makes our society what it is today. So as Remembrance Day approaches, I would like to celebrate the Scottish-Polish connection and pay tribute to the thousands of Poles who are based in Scotland and who fought for the freedoms that we enjoy today. I congratulate the many Polish societies in Scotland, particularly those in Edinburgh and the Lothians, for the work that they do in building connections between our communities. May the long historical links of friendship continue to grow stronger between our nations.